We're talking about a concept that, in my opinion, really has the power to completely transform your career, your influence, and honestly, your happiness at work. What's up, y'all? Stephen Harris here, riding solo today. Summer has Phil and I running around like crazy people with our heads cut off and tons of travel, coordinating guests and trying to do different things. And there's times where we're probably going to just throw on a solo pod and educate you guys on things that we're working on, share some stories, share some ideas, and hopefully aligns with the path that you're working on and helps you become a better person in business and life in general. So today, we're talking about a concept that, in my opinion, really has the power to completely transform your career, your influence, and honestly, your happiness at work. I'm not talking to the entrepreneurs in the room today. I'm talking about intrapreneurship. That's the concept. That's the bamboo banger. And now most people hear the word entrepreneur and they think about startups, founders, Shark Tank, investors, and launching a business. But honestly, as a business owner myself, the most impactful people never actually start a business. It's usually the team. It's the team that you have that you brought in, and that team became intrapreneurs. So an intrapreneur is someone who thinks and acts like an owner while working inside of an organization. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't wait for their boss to tell them what to do. They just identify opportunities, they solve problems, they create value, and they become indispensable. And they do it in a way that's smart. It's in their own way. It's being who they are. But the reality is that opportunities aren't reserved for entrepreneurs. It's reserved for everybody. They're available every day inside the companies we work for. And so the question is, do you have the awareness to see them? It doesn't have to just be sales either. This also hits for operations, support, development, things like that. If you're in those type of teams, you can spot all these opportunities all over the place. And there's this thing called the OPPO FLOW cycle that I like to call the opportunity cycle. And it really just has to do with keeping an open mind, defining your purpose, preparation, opportunity awareness, action, and then assessment. And that same cycle that creates success in our lives, it also creates impact inside organizations. So let's go ahead and dive into this deeper and what it means to become an intrapreneur, which is something that we've really pushed hard for with my internal team. As many of you know, I own a franchise payroll business out here in Phoenix, Arizona. And as we've grown our team, we teach intrapreneurship and this ownership over your role type of mentality. So there's this like mindset that most employees unknowingly operate of ownership avoidance. They just kind of think, that's not my job, or someone should fix that, or leadership doesn't understand me. Nobody asked me to do that. I'm not going to do these things, or that's not my client. That's someone else. Go ask them. It's their problem, not mine. And so those statements kind of remove the personal power. So if you get asked a question, taking ownership and helping that person find the resolution. So when you start looking for ways to improve the business, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, opportunities stop finding you. So the highest performers I've ever met all share one common trait. They see the organization as if they own a piece of it. Maybe they don't actually own stock in the business. They don't have any profit share or equity. They aren't executives, but mentally they own the outcomes. They own their role. If customer service is suffering, they actually care about that. If a process is broken, they care about that. If communication is lacking or failing, they care. Right? If expenses and money is going out the window for no reason, they care. So ownership isn't a title. Ownership is a mindset. And intrapreneurs understand something powerful. Every problem is an opportunity. And what I mean by that is, yeah, this may not be my role per se, or this may not be a task I normally do, but if I look at the overall picture, does this help someone else? Does this allow my client to do something better in a more efficient way? And most employees spend their day focused on tasks. Entrepreneurs spend their day focused on possibilities. There's a massive difference. An average employee may ask, what do I need to do today? And an entrepreneur may ask, what can be done better today? They remain curious. They're always open-minded. They question assumptions. They're not afraid to push back and challenge the status quo, whether it's within their leadership group internally or with their clients. Maybe their clients come and ask for support and they feel confident that this is what they need, but an entrepreneur might push back and actually question the client to make sure that what they need is truly what they need. And so inside your own company, ask yourself, what really frustrates customers? What wastes employees' time? What process feels outdated? And what opportunity is everyone walking past? Those are the types of questions alone that can change your career. If you genuinely care about your career and growth and wanting to focus on being better, making your team better, focus on better outcomes, asking yourself these questions, what are the things I can do to think outside the box to make someone's life easier, but also not just the process efficiency and process improvement, but the outcomes, the follow-up, the follow-through, the closing the loops, making sure that you're actually following through on what you say you're going to do. And so you want to be able to try and connect your impact to something bigger. You're not just showing up for a job. You're not just showing up to clock in 9 to 5. If that's the case for you, then you're selling yourself a little short. You have every opportunity to make a massive impact within your organization. It just means that you got to try and you got to care. And if you don't, maybe it's time to reconsider where you're at if you're not truly happy and you don't truly want to pursue that. So one of the biggest reasons employees disengage is because they stop connecting their work to purpose. And we emphasize understanding your values, your purpose, your why. We talk about it all the time. Phil and I talk about this all the time. And it's no different than when you're working within an organization. When your purpose becomes larger than your job description, your contribution expands. And so ask yourself, why does this company exist? Who are we helping? How does my role help improve lives? When you connect your daily work to service, innovation, customer experience, maybe team success, your energy just simply changes and you stop working for a paycheck, you start working for impact. And that's when people notice, especially leaders, especially founders. The most respected employees aren't necessarily the smartest. In fact, they usually aren't. And they usually come in fairly green. They don't have the most experience either. They're often people that just come in with the qualities you can't teach, the loyalty, the accountability, the want to try, the care, and they just love the opportunity to figure things out. And so purpose fuels that initiative and purpose fuels that resilience. And really, it just fuels that entrepreneurship. And so one of the things that I learned from my director of operations is she's constantly talking with the team in the weekly huddles and saying all of the really neat things that are provided that are given an opportunity within the workplace that are not always given elsewhere. And so the grass isn't always greener. And we see this with clients too, where they may go try another provider and then 6 months later they come back. And it's because they realized that there was purpose behind the work that we've done. And so my director of operations will always share, you can't find a place that's going to just keep you open-minded all the time and wanting growth in your path and wanting to accelerate your goals and wanting to build efficient processes where all a team stepping up for each other and being there for each other. And it's super important for people to realize, and they have realized, that we can run lean with a small team because everyone's bought in and they're tied in and owning their role and they're bought into entrepreneurship. And so it really comes down to having that open mind, defining that purpose, finding the opportunities, and going all in with each other. And when mistakes happen, it's owning those mistakes and then resolving and communicating effectively back to the client or to the team member if they were helping them out on something. And so preparation is a big part of this. And you kind of have to earn the right to lead others, right? So a lot of times people will come in thinking, hey, I want to be a manager. I want to do this. I want to do these things. But they're coming in as entry level or they're working on their role or different things that they're handling. And they haven't quite taken ownership of their current role. They haven't dialed it in to just be absolutely incredible in their role where there's no questions asked, there's no micromanaging, there's nothing that they need to worry about or leaders need to worry about, because no matter what comes across their desk or no matter what that they come up with, there's trust that it's going to get done and it's going to get done correctly. And everyone's going to be happy because of that. And then that's when the path towards management or leadership happens. I truly believe hiring outside and developing within to promote within is a far better experience for the entire culture. And now I'm primarily speaking about small business, but I think it's the best way to grow your business and scale your business if you are a small business owner. If you are an employee at a small business, understanding that the opportunity is in front of you and small businesses can be creative with different roles. Now, if you're in an enterprise organization, it doesn't change anything. You still have ownership over your role. There's a lot of times where you feel like you may have to just stay in your lane. But if you start poking outside of your lane a little bit to define a different process or different efficiency somewhere and helping someone else out, then maybe the other department notices and all of a sudden you've got an opportunity to pivot to another area. Now, this is where most people get it wrong. They want influence before actual preparation. They want that leadership before the expertise. They want the authority before credibility. And it just doesn't happen that way. Preparation comes first. And it could take a year. It could take 5 years. It could take 10 years. And it's not climbing the corporate ladder. It's just owning your role and managing it to such a high level that you learn the business, you learn the customers, you learn the numbers, and you learn the industry to where now you become the expert and adjacent all departments, and you just become a resource. The most impactful people are the most resourceful people. One of the most valuable questions we ask is, what do you need to learn or who can help? It's an entrepreneurship in action. Don't wait for training, seek it. Find a problem that hasn't even happened yet and figure it out. Don't wait for mentorship, create it. Don't be afraid to walk into someone's office and say, I have a question. Can you help me with this? I'd like to learn more about that. Don't wait to be invited into strategic conversations. Become so knowledgeable that people invite you naturally. And preparation really just creates that confidence, which confidence creates the action, and action creates the results. And those results create the evidence to then continue that cycle. And so when you have this opportunity awareness, it's your career superpower. And this is where opportunity awareness is the ability to recognize possibilities before others do. So let me give you an example. When we've set up a new client, sometimes they get very complex. A lot of integrations, a lot of different ways that they submit their payrolls, and it's not always the same for every client. Yeah, payroll process in general is pretty much the same. But each client has a different subset of employees, has a different subset of how they're tracking time, has a different offerings that they give their employees, whether it's 401k, benefits, etc. And so there's a lot of complexities and details that you have to pay attention to. And if you're only looking at setting up a new client as a task and just kind of stay in your lane and just a workflow and everyone's set up the same way, the process might be the same. But intrapreneurship teaches, let me look at this client more closely. Let me understand how they need to process their payrolls. And let me educate on what is possible in our system. So that way it'll make their lives easier. And same thing with internal employees. If there's a team member that is struggling with supporting a customer and you have that knowledge, don't hold that back. Most employees are seeking tasks and the entrepreneurs are seeking leverage. They're really looking for the opportunity to help someone at all times. They're thinking outside the box. And so most employees, they just see problems when entrepreneurs see solutions. And as cliche as that may sound, it's pretty much true. Like nothing is limiting you. Entrepreneurs see possibilities. They're always out there seeking ways to make a bigger impact. So I have a challenge for you. In the next week, write down 3 inefficiencies that you notice in the workplace. Write down 3 customer frustrations, 3 ideas to improve outcomes. Don't worry if they're perfect. Just train your brain to notice these things and write them down and do it every week. So do it next week and then do it the following week. And the more opportunities that you identify, the stronger your opportunity awareness becomes. And eventually, you'll begin spotting opportunities everywhere, whether it's revenue opportunities, cost-saving opportunities, team development, customer experience. We teach this within our team, retention and revenue driving activities within our operations team. We're very much a sell one client, bring on one client, keep one client type of growth model, as opposed to sell 5 clients and only keep 1 or 2 6 months later. And so we're always educating our team, like, what are the retention driving activities that we can continue to hone in on and follow through with in order to save that client or keep that client happy? And it's not that hard, you guys. Most of it is just communication and follow-up. As long as we're responsive, accessible, coming up with new ideas for our clients and helping them out, that's what an entrepreneur does. And so once you see them, you really just can't unsee them. Every time something comes across your desk, you're like, wonder how I can make that a little bit better. And then action. It's really the difference between the thinkers and the entrepreneur. A while ago, I posted something on Instagram and I said, there's 3 types of people in this world. You have the talkers, the ones that speak, but they don't really fulfill. You have the thinkers, they're the ones that ideate, but they don't really act. And then you have the doers, the ones that fail, but never stop. And that's what this is about. The intrapreneur is very much like the entrepreneur. It's having the ownership mindset of like, I am willing to go and fail so that way I can learn something new, but I'm not going to stop this thing. I'm not going to stop this game. I'm going to learn from my mistakes, but I'm not going to stop continuing to get better and continue trying. The last thing that we can have happen, and this is what a lot of people do, is they show up and they just kind of go through the motions, and you lose your overall joy and happiness when you're in the workplace. If you think about it, if you're a 40-hour-a-week type of environment, you're spending more time at work than you are potentially with your families in the mornings and at night. And so you've got to find that joy and that happiness. And I think that the real path to that is ownership of your role, the intrapreneurship, and constantly being a partner with leadership if you're not already a leader yourself, to then figure out how you can get better, how you can make the team better. Now, ideas alone create nothing, and action creates everything. This is where many talented people simply get stuck. They've got the insights, but again, they're not taking the action. They've got the ideas, but they're just not moving the needle. They're too afraid. They never really act. They're asking themselves, what if? What if I do this wrong? And an entrepreneur doesn't ask that. They don't ask, can I lead this? They ask, how can I help move this forward? Who can I reach out to? What are the areas I can tap into? Sometimes that action is just building a proposal without asking somebody, creating a process or running a new product, collecting data so that way you can give it to leadership, say, hey, this is everything that I've found, and I think this is going to be better. It's bringing solutions instead of complaints, like, oh my gosh, this person did that or this person did that. No. Solve the problem, and you'll start to notice the difference. Those complaints, I start identifying problems like, it's interesting that you're saying that. Let me come up with a new idea for you, and let's see if this works. You're identifying solutions. You're building trust. You're not building frustration. And so when leaders see someone consistently bringing thoughtful solutions, they start giving them bigger opportunities. That trust and that credibility is there. It's like, hey, you really knocked it out of the park this time. Keep it up. Keep going. If you need any help, I'm here. And then as that consistency starts coming in, that person, that entrepreneur, doesn't actually have to ask for more opportunities. They've earned them. And leadership recognizes that and says, hey, I've got an idea for you, and I've got a project I think you'd be really great at. Let's see if you are open to the task. And an entrepreneur would say yes, hands down. It would never be like, nah, I'm not really sure. I think I'm good where I'm at. And so it's all about growth, just continuing the win or learn mindset. And it's kind of assessing the entire opportunity, the cycle, everything that we're talking about. And it's an opportunity that you're going to fail at, especially if you're growing, you're trying new things, you're doing things that you're not great at yet. And that's okay. You're either going to nail it or you're going to learn from it. And so you just kind of learn from the situation and assess, okay, well, what worked? What didn't? I did this for this client over here, and they weren't a fan of that. So I'm not going to offer this one to this client. So I'm going to try something a little different. Is there something I should stop doing? What should I continue doing? The best entrepreneurs aren't fearless. They're just reflective. They're not chaotic. They're not reckless. They just learn and improve through repetition. They're constantly troubleshooting. A failed initiative isn't a failure. If you don't know where to go or how to do something, it's okay. It's just learning from the process and learning from the feedback that you get and learning from the trials and errors that you're working through. Every attempt makes you more prepared for the next opportunity. And you start to feel that confidence really pick up. And eventually those small opportunities compound into those pivotal moments, whether it's a promotion or maybe an equity share or profit share, or maybe it's starting your own business at some point. You started to build that knowledge. I am an advocate for entrepreneurship. I realize that not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but still having this mindset within your role, within the organization that you're at, will help you excel and move further than you ever thought possible. But you have to want it. And so as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with another challenge. For the next 30 days, stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. What are the revenue driving activities and what are the retention driving activities that I can work on this week? Walk into every meeting that you may have and be like, okay, listen for the opportunities and ask, what opportunity exists here? What can I jump in on without being asked? And how can I improve this? How can I build something so spectacular that people have no choice but to look at it and listen and take it and implement it? Walk into every interaction of how can I create more value? And remember, you don't need a promotion to lead. You don't need authority to influence. Not everyone wants to be a leader or a manager. You don't need permission to care. You really just have to have it in you that you want to do something genuinely impactful and be a resource for others. And you can do that within the marketplace, within the workplace, the organization that you're at. And I promise you, it will build so much joy and happiness in everything that you're trying to do. It's a sense of accomplishment. Every single day when you try something new, or you build a new process, or you work with a new team member, you train a new hire, whatever it is that you're working on, I promise you, when you complete that new thing that no one ever knew, or you taught something new, you feel this sense of accomplishment and you feel excited about going into work the next day. And so these employees, the entrepreneurs, the ones that own their role, the ones that look at their book of business and see the impact that they truly are having within their role, how it correlates with the overall business, the ones that become the entrepreneurs are the ones that consistently move through this cycle. Opportunity awareness, mindset. They're attacking those opportunities with vigor, with care. They want to succeed, but they're learning from their failures and they're assessing, they're taking that feedback. Okay, so they stay open-minded. They really know their purpose. They're bought in. It aligns so well with the organization and what they're trying to do, and they prepare relentlessly. They recognize the opportunities, they take the action, and they just simply learn from the outcomes. And over time, you guys, they become the people everyone depends on. And that's a great place to be. Not because they had the best title, not because they're the manager or director or even the founder, but they chose ownership of their role. Barack Obama once said, the most successful people, the most resourceful people, the ones that leaders want to go to are the ones that are going to say, I'll figure it out. And no matter what comes their way, they do that. They follow through on just figuring it out. Ownership over your role is the number one way as an entrepreneur to succeed within your career. Until next time, Phil and I will be back at you next week. We've got some amazing topics and guests coming up. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube if that's where you're watching us, or Spotify if you're listening on Apple, iHeartRadio, or any other platform that you listen to podcasts. Feel free to follow and subscribe. We're also on Instagram at Success Flow Podcast. Check us out. We post a bunch of clips there. Feel free to DM us any ideas, topics, things you want to hear. And if you ever need anything from myself or from Phil, we are here for you. We're a resource. So keep creating pivotal moments. Keep looking for those opportunities. Keep flowing forward, and cheers.